Welcome, dear traveller, to the sleeping hourglass. Tonight we journey into a tale older than language, a story carved not in books, but in wood, rain, and faith. This is the story of Noah, the man who built silence into shelter, who obeyed when the world refused to listen. If this space brings you peace, you're gently welcome to subscribe, not out of obligation, but as a way to keep the candle burning. The garden is long gone, its gates sealed by flame, its trees silenced by exile. But the H of Eden still lingers, not in place, but in people. It drifts like a scent on the wind, half remembered, never reclaimed. From Adam comes Seth, and from Seth Enosh, and with Enosh, something breaks, not in flesh, but in memory. The distance between God and man stretches like mist drawing away from morning ground. It is said that in those days, men began to call upon the name of the Lord, but the calling is faint, like a whisper across a widening canyon. Generations roll forward. Canaan, Mahalalel, Jared, each name a rung lower on a quiet descent. The years grow long, but the joy grows thin. Men build altars, raise children, plant fields. But something has shifted in the soil, a restlessness, a sigh, a yearning for something lost. Then comes Enoch, and for a moment, the line bends back toward the light. He walks with God, not visits, not speaks, but walks, step by step, breath by breath, in communion. And then he is no more. Not because he dies, but because he is taken. A man so close to heaven, he does not need to cross the threshold of death. The world pauses, a flicker of hope. But the descent continues. Methuselah follows. His name, they say, carries warning. When he dies, it will come. And he lives longer than any man ever will. A mercy stretched into centuries. But even he cannot hold back the tide. Now the earth is filling, men multiply. So do their hungers. They build cities, not sanctuaries. They seek power, not presence. The sons of Cain, architects, smiths, poets of pride, build iron and art, but forget the breath that made them. Violence begins as a murmur, a quarrel over land, a sharp word in the field. But soon it becomes the language of the world. Brother lifts hand against brother. Fathers teach sons not how to till the earth, but how to conquer it. And in the midst of this spiral, Lamech is born. Lamech is a man with heavy hands and tired eyes. He walks among a world of noise, but carries within him a whisper of grief. He is a descendant of Seth, not Cain. But sorrow doesn't distinguish bloodlines. When his son is born, he does not speak of legacy or strength. He speaks of pain. He names the child Noah. Rest. This one will comfort us, he says, concerning our work and the toil of our hands, because of the ground which the Lord has cursed. A prophecy in a cradle, a plea wrapped in swaddling cloth, not for greatness, not for victory, but for relief, for breathing space in a suffocating world. The ground beneath their feet groans. It remembers the blood of Abel, the cries of the innocent. It drinks the sweat of those who labor in futility, wrestling thorns from the earth that once bore fruit with ease. Noah grows up with the scent of dust in his lungs. He hears the stories, not as myths, but as memory of the garden, of the fall, of angels and swords, of a world that once walked with God and now limps in its absence. And around him the world accelerates. Men become stronger, crueler. Giants walk among them, men of renown, but not of righteousness. They make names for themselves, not for heaven. Their glory echoes in violence, their monuments rise in rebellion. But Noah is quiet. He listens. He watches. He remembers. He is the son of Lamech, the grandson of Methuselah, the great grandson of Enoch, and though he does not yet walk with God, something in his soul still turns toward the east, toward the lost gate, toward the flaming sword, toward the last breath of Eden. The world is louder now. What was once a slow and steady hum of life has become a restless thunder, echoing across valleys and through ancient mountains. The earth itself seems to tremble beneath the weight of human ambition. Men stretch their hands toward power as if it were fruit hanging low from a forgotten tree, and they pluck it without reverence, without caution, without remembering what such hunger once cost. Noah watches this world unfold around him. He is not yet the Noah who will build the ark, nor the Noah whose story children whisper centuries later. He is simply a man trying to stand upright while the ground beneath him shifts like sand eroding under a rising tide. He sees things his ancestors feared would come. Strength without wisdom, desire without restraint. Giants walk among them, men whose size mirrors the enormity of their pride. Warriors whose names fill the air like storm clouds. They carve their legends in stone and soil, not to honor God but to glorify themselves. Their shadows fall long across the land, making even the righteous feel small. Stories ripple through the nights, how the sons of God take wives from among the daughters of men, choosing through desire, not discernment. No blessing, no covenant, no regard for heaven's gaze. Only the sound of footsteps leading farther and farther from Eden's memory. Noah listens to these stories with a quiet ache. He hears the fear behind them. An ancient tremor passed from father to son, from mother to child. It is the feeling of a world leaning too far into darkness, as if the sun itself hesitates before rising each morning. The land, once fertile, now bears the marks of violence. Fields trampled by battles no one remembers the reasons for. Villages abandoned overnight, as if swallowed by the silence that follows bloodshed. Children learning the language of anger before they learn the language of hope. Inside this growing tempest, God watches, not from a distance, not as a passive observer, but as a father whose heart tightens with every cruelty, every deception, every blow struck without cause. The Lord saw, the scripture says, a simple phrase, but heavy, unbearably heavy. He sees the imaginations of men, the thoughts that coil within their minds like serpents in tall grass. He sees how those thoughts unfold into actions and how those actions ripple into endless harm. Every thought, every intention, only evil, continually. It is not a world stumbling occasionally into sin. It is a world running headlong toward its own ruin, celebrating the speed of its descent, and God grieves. Not with rage at first, but with sorrow, deep, ancient, aching sorrow. A sorrow that remembers what he created, what he blessed, what he walked beside. He remembers Adam's first breath and Eve's first awakening. He remembers Enoch walking in step with him, a rare harmony in a discordant age. Now that harmony is gone. The world feels like a symphony collapsing into noise. Each generation grows more distant, their hearts tuning themselves to frequencies heaven cannot bear. The earth itself holds the memory of their wickedness. Blood spilled unjustly sinks into the soil, crying out as Abel's once did. Every grain of dust seems to carry a lament, a groan rooted so deeply that it rises like smoke into the air. Noah hears this groan. He hears it in the trembling leaves, in the cracked river beds, in the sigh of his own weary spirit. He feels the world's heaviness, and something in him aches not only for mankind, but for God. He wonders, quietly, humbly, what it must be like for the Creator to see his creation turning against itself, to watch the children he shaped from dust lifting weapons instead of prayers, building monuments to violence instead of altars of gratitude. Yet amid this world swollen with sin, Noah stands apart, not by strength, not by brilliance, but by the orientation of his heart. He does not shout his righteousness, nor parade it before others. He simply chooses goodness each day, quietly, steadily, deliberately. Where others take, Noah gives. Where others boast, Noah listens. Where others revel in chaos, Noah seeks peace. These are small choices, unnoticed by the world, but seen by heaven. One evening, as he sits beneath a fading sun, Noah feels something shift in the air. It is not a wind or a sound, but a presence, subtle, steady, a touch upon the soul, as if someone has turned toward him in the midst of the world's turning away. Noah does not understand it fully. He does not yet hear the call to build, does not yet see the storm gathering beyond the horizon, but he feels seen in a way that is gentle, ancient, and profoundly real. Because while God sees the wickedness of the world, he also sees Noah. And where he finds sorrow everywhere else, in Noah, he finds grace. It is a fragile light in an overwhelming darkness. Yet light, even the smallest light, changes how the night feels. The days continue. Violence grows. Men become more corrupt. Their hearts bent like trees uprooted by storms. But Noah walks a different path, even though he does not yet know where it leads. In heaven, grief deepens into decision. The earth is unraveling, its threads tangled beyond repair. The flood ahead is not born of impulse, but of sorrow so profound that creation itself must be washed clean to breathe again. Yet in this unfolding judgment, a single man is cradled in divine attention. Not because he is sinless, but because he is willing to listen, willing to walk, willing to believe. And heaven waits for the moment to speak his name. It begins with wood, not thunder split across the sky, not fire pouring down in warning, just the steady strike of iron biting bark, the slow surrender of trees to the ground, a sound small enough to be ignored, yet heavy with obedience. God has spoken, not in riddles, not in visions drifting with sleep, but in measurements precise enough to follow. Gopher wood, resistant and strong, wood that does not rot easily, wood meant to endure long waiting and deeper waters, rooms within rooms, pitch inside and out, resin boiled and spread thick, to seal every seam against a future no one believes in. 300 cubits long, 50 cubits wide, 30 cubits high, a vessel longer than a football field, taller than a 4-story house, wider than reason itself. A window above, not for looking out, but for light. One door, only one, cut into the side. Then the words that explain everything and nothing at all. I am going to bring floodwaters on the earth to destroy all life under the heavens. Every creature that has the breath of life in it. Everything on earth will perish. But I will establish my covenant with you, and you will enter the ark. You and your sons and your wife, and your sons' wives with you. You are to bring into the ark 2 of all living creatures, male and female, to keep them alive with you. 2 of every kind of bird, animal, and creature that moves along the ground will come to you to be kept alive. You are to take every kind of food that is to be eaten and store it away as food for you and for them. It is strange how clear the command is. Noah did everything just as God commanded him. He gathers his sons, Shem, Ham, Japheth, their hands young, unscarred by labor. They listen. They measure. They sketch faith into dirt before lifting it into the air. They fell trees far from the place of building, dragging trunks across dry land, rolling them over stone and dust, each log stripped, each beam squared. The work slow, deliberate, because obedience does not hurry. They raise the skeleton first. A vast ribcage of wood, arches bent and joined, each joint sealed with pitch. 3 levels take shape inside, stacked like quiet promises. Lower decks for the heavy creatures, middle for beasts of breath and burden, upper for birds, light, movement, rest. Rooms, many rooms, small stalls, larger chambers, spaces not meant for comfort, but for preservation. And around them, the laughter begins. At first, neighbors come curious. What is this shape? Why build a ship where grass grows? Later, curiosity sharpens into mockery. They laugh at the slanted sides, at the towering height with no sail, at the smell of burning pitch in the heat. They laugh at a man who speaks of rain in a world where mist has always been enough. Where is the water, Noah? Where is the sea? Noah does not answer. His hammer answers instead. Year after year, the ark rises, seasons turn. Noah's beard grays. His sons' backs broaden. Children are born who have never known a day when the great wooden mountain was not growing. Obedience is measured not in belief alone, but in logistics. The ark rises like a second mountain, not made of stone, but of trust. Noah does not preach, not with words. His hammer is his sermon. His patience is his witness. He does not argue with the scoffers. He simply keeps building, as if the work itself is a prayer, a prophecy shaped with edges and angles, a gospel held together by joints and beams. Some days he steps back to take in what has formed, a cavernous belly, empty and echoing, a space not meant for conquest, but survival, for breath, for beginning again. And still the world moves as if nothing is coming. Marriages are planned, feasts are thrown, children are born into laughter and dust. The ground still yields crops, though thorns press deeper than before. Men still trade, still war, still reach upward as if heaven can be seized. But heaven has already spoken. The blueprints remain. Each beam Noah places is a reminder that mercy warns before it acts, that judgment does not arrive without time to turn. And yet, no one turns. They only laugh louder. Noah keeps building. There are moments, quiet ones, when he wonders if he heard correctly, if obedience always feels like foolishness at first. But then he remembers the voice, the stillness that followed it, the way the command settled in his bones like certainty. And he continues. Birds perch on the rising frame, animals wander near, sniffing the unfamiliar. Children toss pebbles at its sides and run away giggling, not knowing they aim at their own salvation. Rain still does not come, but neither does doubt, not the kind that stops a man's hands. Obedience is not the absence of questions. It is the refusal to stop walking when the path narrows into silence. And for Noah, the silence of the skies only deepens the rhythm of the work. He imagines the storm, though he cannot shape it. He imagines the gathering, though he does not yet call the animals by name. What he knows is this: God has spoken. And it is enough. Every cut of wood is a step closer. Every peg, every seal, every echo of hammer against beam is a note in a song only Noah seems to hear. But heaven hears it too, and waits. Lamech reaches the end of his days slowly, as most things do in this early world. There is no announcement in the heavens, no shadow crossing the sun. His life simply thins, like mist lifting from fields at morning. 777 years rest behind him. years filled with growing, naming, waiting. He has lived long enough to remember voices now vanished, stories passed down like soil-stained tools. He has seen the earth multiply with people and ache beneath their hands. And now his breathing softens, untroubled. Yielding to time without resistance, Noah stands nearby, quieter than he once was. To outlive one's father is common in later ages, but here it feels unnatural, like watching a mountain move. Lamech was born with the weight of the curse already heavy on the ground, yet he named his son with hope. "This one will comfort us," he said, believing relief might arrive through hands yet small. Now those hands are weathered, marked by wood and labor and obedience. Lamech's hope has not failed, but neither has it ended as he imagined. Comfort has come, though it carries a shape both sheltering and terrible. In these last moments, memory becomes the air between them. Lamech remembers his own father, Methuselah. He remembers names that stretch backward toward Adam, each life an unbroken thread tracing loss back to Eden. Paradise is no longer spoken of as a place, but as a feeling. Thin, unreachable. Lamech does not ask Noah about the ark. He already knows. Some knowledge grows too large for questions. His eyes close with trust rather than clarity. The burial is simple. The earth receives what it has long waited for. Soil touches skin that has known prayer and weariness in equal measure. Noah stands over the grave longer than tradition requires. He feels the narrowing of time now, not as fear, but as focus. Scripture does not linger here, yet the silence speaks. After Lamech's death, only 5 years remain before rain will fall. 5 unremarkable years, 5 harvests, 5 cycles of sunrise and dark. The end approaches without urgency, as endings often do. Grief enters Noah's obedience gently, but it stays. He continues measuring wood, sealing seams, setting beams in place. The ark rises while one generation recedes fully into memory. Lamech will never see the finished vessel. He will never hear rain striking its roof. In this there is mercy as well as sorrow. He is spared the sound of judgment, though not the knowledge of it. His hope rests instead in trust. Trust placed not in survival, but in God's remembering. Around them life goes on unchanged. Children are born. Violence continues its quiet spread. Laughter and cruelty share the same roads. No one pauses for Lamech's passing. His name is not carved into the attention of the world. Yet something has shifted invisibly. Another witness to Eden has closed his eyes. Another long memory has ended. The earth holds fewer voices now that remember the beginning. Noah works beneath an open sky that shows no sign of what is coming. He carries grief like an extra tool, familiar in weight. Obedience does not remove sorrow. It simply gives it direction. When evening settles and the sound of labor fades, Noah sometimes thinks of his father's words, spoken long ago, wrapped in hope. Comfort will come, but first the world must pass through water. The ark stands finished. What began as a command in the stillness of dawn is now a towering vessel resting on dry ground. Its beams cured by years of sun, its belly hollowed like a cradle large enough for the world's beginning and end. Noah stands beneath its shadow, feeling the weight of what God has asked, and the even greater weight of what is coming. The air carries no scent of rain. No darkening clouds gather on the horizon. Life around them continues in familiar rhythms. Markets open, tools ring against stone, children chase one another through dust. The world still believes in itself, but Noah believes in something else. He gathers his family, his wife, his sons, their wives. not with urgency, but with quiet steadiness. They have seen him build for decades, watched him endure laughter, felt the heaviness of prophetic silence. Now, as the ark looms ready, Noah knows that wood and pitch are only part of the preparation. Hearts must be readied too. He sits with them at dusk, the sky washed in soft gold. He speaks not of fear but of faith, not of destruction but of obedience. He reminds them of the voice that guided his hands, the measurements given, the mercy woven into every command. His sons listen, each in their own way. Shem, thoughtful and gentle, weighs the meaning of every word. Ham shifts restlessly, brimming with questions he cannot quite voice. Japheth watches the horizon, sensing that something vast is drawing near. Their wives sit close, eyes reflecting firelight, knowing they too have stepped into a story none of them chose. Yet each one accepts the path laid before them, trusting the man who trusts God. As the final preparations unfold, something unexpected happens. The animals come, not in frenzy or confusion, not driven by fear or storm, but in a quiet, ordered procession that defies every instinct of nature. Noah sees them before he hears them. Shadows moving at the edge of the fields, shapes emerging from distant hills. Creatures that should flee one another walk side by side. Predators do not bare their teeth. Prey does not tremble. His family pauses their work, tools resting in their hands as they watch the impossible unfold. A lion pads forward with a calmness more ancient than the curse. A pair of deer follow, their steps light as breath. Birds settle along the railings of the ark, as if the beams grew from the branches of some forgotten forest. 2 by 2 they gather, and for the clean beasts, 7 pairs, a number Noah does not fully understand, yet obeys. The world that has mocked him now reveals a sign no laughter can deny. Still, people look on with disbelief, chalking it up to oddity instead of warning. The human heart, once set against truth, can ignore even miracles. Inside the ark, straw rustles. Roofs creak as wings adjust. A low hum fills the cavernous space. The sound of life breathing in unison, waiting for a storm they cannot name. Yet God does not close the door, not yet. There are 7 days still, 7 days of a world that does not know it is living its final dawns. 7 days of families hosting feasts, of couples planning marriages, of children learning to carve wood or mold clay. All unaware they will soon become memory. Noah waits. He walks the perimeter of the ark each morning, testing the seals, listening to the creaks, running his hand along the grain of the wood. But he knows the preparation now is not for the structure. It is for the soul. Waiting is its own kind of faith, a quiet endurance that stretches the heart. His family feels it too. They move through these final days with a strange mixture of calm and ache. They speak softly to one another, sharing meals that carry the taste of endings. They watch the sky more often, though it shows nothing new. At night, Noah lies awake beside his wife. He listens to the nocturnal sounds, owls shifting on branches, distant murmurs of the animals settling inside the ark. He tries to picture what the world will become after the storm, but the vision is hazy, like trying to imagine sunlight while standing beneath an eclipse. His wife reaches for his hand in the dark. She has carried her own quiet strength through these years, facing the whispers of neighbors, the questions of her sons, the fear of stepping into a vessel meant not for travel, but for survival. Their fingers intertwine, a silent agreement to step into the unthinkable together. On the 6th day, the air changes, not dramatically, No sudden gusts, no crack of thunder, but subtly, like a breath held too long finally beginning to tremble. Birds grow restless. A heaviness settles over the earth, the kind that precedes confession or grief. Noah senses it first, a tightening in the spirit, a recognition that the world's heartbeat has shifted. He gathers his family one last time. Tomorrow, he says softly, not with fear, not with triumph, only with the weight of truth. They nod, each one absorbing the meaning of that single word. Tomorrow, the world changes. Tomorrow, the promise of judgment steps out from behind the veil. And so dawn breaks on the seventh day, quiet, expectant. The family stands before the ark, the great door towering above them like a threshold between ages. Then it happens. A sound soft enough to be missed, yet heavy enough to alter history. A single drop of rain. It touches the earth, sinking into dust. Another follows, and another. The sky, unchanged in color, begins to weep. People look up with puzzled interest, some laughing, some shrugging, none understanding that they are witnessing the first tears of the world's undoing. Noah feels the drop on his skin. Cool, gentle, unfamiliar. A whisper from heaven, it begins. He leads his family into the ark. The animals shift, sensing the change. The beams of the vessel creak softly as if inhaling, preparing. And then, without human hand, the door begins to move, slowly, deliberately, firmly. God closes it. Light narrows into a single sliver, then slips away. The world outside fades into muffled sound. The ark hums with life, sealed in divine protection. The seventh day ends. The rain begins to fall. It begins not with thunder, but with silence. The kind that comes before something changes forever. 7 days have passed since the door of the ark closed. 7 days of waiting, watching, breathing in the thick quiet. The air inside smells of timber, straw, and the weight of too much stillness. Outside, the sky holds its breath. And then, a sound like the tearing of fabric, not heard by ears, but felt deep in the bone. The fountains of the great deep break open. From beneath the earth, waters erupt. Not a stream, not a river, but a surging, unrelenting roar, as if the ancient veins of the world have burst. The ground trembles beneath the waves it can no longer hold. Caves collapse. Roots are ripped from soil. The foundation of creation groans beneath the judgment that now unfolds. And then the sky weeps. It is not a gentle rain. It is the grief of a world too long poisoned. It pours from the heavens like memory, like mourning, like mercy held too long behind clouds. It falls without rhythm or pause, drenching the trees, battering the stones, seeping into every crack and hollow of the land. The firmament, once divided above and below, now forgets its boundary. Inside the ark, the sounds echo, muffled, haunting. Wooden beams creak, troughs slosh. Some animals stir nervously, others are still, as if sensing the unraveling outside. The family listens, heartbeats aligned with the pulsing percussion of water on wood. They do not speak. There is nothing to say. Their world is vanishing. The door remains shut, sealed not by Noah, but by God. Outside, chaos grows. Rivers forget their banks. Hills lose their shape. The waters rise with an eerie calm, not in waves, but as a relentless tide that does not recede. Great trees are swallowed whole. Villages vanish beneath the surface, their rooftops bobbing like grave markers. The laughter that once mocked Noah has gone silent, buried beneath the deluge. Noah does not witness this. He is inside the womb of wood, a structure shaped by obedience, now holding breath and blood and future. The ark groans with every swell, rising inch by inch as the flood swallows the past. It is not a boat, not in the usual sense. It is an altar of waiting, a cradle of what will remain. The days blur. No one counts them out loud, but each one is felt in the spine, in the slow ache of limbs unused, in the way animals grow restless and then quiet again. There are no stars, no sun, only the endless grey of grief above and the thick, churning silence below. From within the ark, the world has no edges. Mountains disappear. The horizon drowns. There is no land to long for, only the memory of it. The garden is gone. The cities are gone. The altars and the idols, the quarrels and the markets, the children and the crimes, all swallowed by the deep. But inside there is life. Pairs of creatures curl against one another, instinct muffled by slowness. Lions blink slowly. Birds rustle within their cages, wings dreaming of open sky. Noah's sons move through the dim corridors of the ark, carrying food, speaking in hushed tones. Their wives tend to the flickering lamps, and Noah walks. Not much. The ark is not wide, but he walks still, slowly, deliberately, pausing at each row of animals, resting a hand against wood, listening. He listens for more than sound. He listens for God, because in all this there has been no voice. Not since the instructions, not since the last warning. God is silent now, not distant, but silent. And that silence, somehow, speaks more loudly than thunder. Noah waits in the silence, not with doubt, but with reverence. He has seen the beginning of the end. And yet he does not weep. The water reaches the highest peaks. The mountains that once scraped the clouds are now beneath the waves. The firmament is leveled. No valleys, no summits, only the great swell of the deep. The earth has become a sea, and the ark, a solitary shape in the vastness. Days pass, 40 to be exact, but inside the number has no meaning. There are no calendars, no sunrises to count, only the steady rhythm of rain, and then one day it stops. Not all at once, but slowly, like someone closing a door to a weeping room. The sound lessens. The drum of water on the roof softens. The air becomes still. The ark shudders not from impact, but from stillness. Outside, the sky clears. But there is no joy in it. It is not blue, but pale, not light, but bare. The rain has ceased, but the world is not healed. The waters stretch on unbroken. Days continue, but the waiting deepens. The ark no longer rises. It floats aimless, surrendered to the unseen hand that steers it. No rudder, no sail, only faith. Inside, they wait, they feed, they pray, they sleep, they dream of land, though they do not know what it will look like now. Will there be trees? Will the birds fly again? What waits beneath the surface? The ark rocks softly, endlessly. It becomes a heartbeat, a lullaby in wood. Children of Noah sleep to it. Animals breathe in rhythm with it. And the sky above begins to mend itself, cloud by cloud. But the earth remembers. Its bones are wet. Its heart is quiet. And still the ark drifts, not toward land, but toward a promise yet unspoken. 40 days of rain, and then it stops. But the water does not. The flood lingers like a breath held too long. The earth lies beneath it, hidden and hushed, as if not ready to return. The ark no longer rises, it drifts, not fast, not far, just a slow surrender, riding the vastness of water with no map, no sound of shoreline, no clue of direction. Inside, the air grows heavy. Damp wood, quiet animals, the soft shuffle of footsteps across hay-strewn floors. Time slows. The days no longer announce themselves. Morning and night blend together. both cloaked in the same grey light that filters through the seams in the roof. They do not count the days aloud. They live them. The ark becomes a rhythm, a cradle, a discipline. There is feeding, cleaning, waiting, sleeping, waking, praying. Then again. The children of Noah, grown, but still children in this story, walk the length of the ark each day, tending to what breathes. They learn the weight of repetition. They speak little, conserving energy, conserving peace. Laughter is rare now, but so is complaint. The world outside has ended, and in its place is this floating chamber. A patient witness to memory, a vessel carrying the breath of what will be. And Noah, he listens. Each day he stands beside the same wooden beam, palms resting against its grain. His eyes search upward, toward a ceiling that knows the sky better than he does now. The world has been hidden from him for months. He does not demand answers. He does not command the waters to fall. He simply waits, and in that waiting he worships. The flood endures. 150 days the waters prevail. They do not crash like waves. They hold, deep and silent. They cover the mountains. They bury every place that once bore a name. The earth is now a forgotten landscape, and the ark, a forgotten shape upon it. But then the wind comes. It is not loud, but it moves. The surface ripples. The sky begins to clear. Somewhere beneath, the waters shift as if remembering gravity. The slow retreat begins. Still, Noah says nothing. He watches, he waits, and then, one morning, he opens a window. It is a simple act, but after months of closed sky and sealed wood, it feels like the world taking a first breath. Light spills in, not bright, but enough. The scent of sky filters through, mixed with distant dampness. Noah sends a raven. It circles and does not return. Then, days later, he sends a dove. It returns, wings empty. The waters are still too wide. So Noah waits again. 7 days pass. He sends the dove once more. This time, it returns with something. A leaf, small, olive, not a branch, not a tree, just a whisper. It is soft and green, trembling in the beak of the bird, as if unsure it belongs in this story, but it does. It is not proof of land, not yet. But it is something else. It is proof that something leaves. That roots still reach. That soil, somewhere, remembers how to hold life. The leaf is passed from hand to hand inside the ark. Each person touches it, some gently, some reverently. His sons smile for the first time in weeks. The animals stir. Even the walls seem to breathe a little easier. Noah holds the leaf in his palm. He does not speak, but he closes his eyes. For the first time since the flood began, he allows himself to hope. Not loudly, not with certainty, but with a quiet ache that something somewhere waits to be begun again. He waits another 7 days. The dove is sent out once more, and this time it does not return. Noah stands by the open window. The air is clearer now. He cannot see land, but he can feel it coming. And still, he does not open the ark. He does not force the door. He waits, because this is not just about survival. It is about timing, about listening, about knowing that new beginnings must be given, not taken. The world outside is still unknown. But something has changed. Not the floodwaters, not yet, but the heart inside the ark. It beats with readiness. It is the 601st year of Noah's life. The ark, once adrift across the endless water, now rests. Not by direction, not by human hand, but by the quiet will of God. Somewhere beneath the heavy sky, the mountains of Ararat rise, old, solemn, and waiting. And it is there the ark settles, its hull pressed gently against stone, as the waters slowly begin to draw back like a held breath released. Inside, the silence feels different now. Not the silence of waiting, the silence of arrival. The animals stir in their pens, sensing the shift. Hooves shuffle, feathers rustle, tails flick gently in the stale air. Something has changed, not loud, but true. Noah listens, always listening. Outside, the wind moves across the slopes, brushing against the ark's frame like a hand on weathered skin. The door remains closed. Not out of fear, but reverence. This vessel has held them through judgment. It must be opened with care, not haste. And then a voice. It has been months since Noah heard it last. That soft thunder that once spoke of wood and measurements and rain. Now it speaks of release, of return. Go out from the ark. God says, you and your wife and your sons wives with you. The command is simple, the moment enormous. Noah steps toward the door. His hands, aged by obedience, rest on the frame one final time. He remembers building it, each beam, each nail. And now he will open it. But this is not just a door. It is a veil between what was and what will be. He draws the bolt back. The hinges groan, not in protest, but like a deep breath after sleep. Light spills in, soft and pale, touching faces that have forgotten the sun. They step out, one by one, Noah first. Then his sons, Shem, Ham, Japheth, followed by their wives and his own. Behind them, in lines shaped by quiet instinct, the animals emerge. Not in chaos, not in panic, but as if they too understand that this is sacred ground. The world they enter is not the world they left. There are no roads, no cities, no trees with names, no places to return to. Only earth, wet, dark, pulsing with newness. The air carries the scent of stone and rain-soaked soil, not death. Life, raw and unresolved. And Noah does not build a house. He does not seek shelter. He does not claim land. He builds an altar. Stone by stone, he arranges them in silence. No words, no instruction, just the rhythm of gratitude shaped by hands. This is not payment. This is offering. This is remembrance. Upon the altar, he places one of each clean animal, not out of excess, but devotion. They walk beside him, chosen not for utility, but for sacredness, and he lifts them to God, not in violence, but in surrender. The smoke rises. It curls into the air like a prayer too deep for words, like breath remembered by its maker. Noah watches it ascend, not with pride, but with stillness. He has seen the end of the world. Now he watches its second beginning, and God smells the offering, not just with nostrils, but with heart. And he speaks, not to Noah directly this time, but within himself. I will never again curse the ground. Because of man, neither will I ever again strike down every living creature. It is not a contract. It is a covenant of restraint, a promise made not because man has changed, but because mercy will now walk beside judgment. The earth will remain. Seed time and harvest, cold and heat, summer and winter, day and night, it will not end, not yet. The animals begin to wander, hesitant, then free. The birds stretch their wings and disappear into the open sky. The family looks around. There is much to do, much to rebuild. But Noah does not rush. He stays by the altar, eyes lifted, feet still damp with the memory of floodwater. The silence that once held fear now holds peace. And though the ark rests in shadow behind him, Noah does not turn back to it. He does not need to, because now the world is open. The air still smells of wet earth and ash. The altar smoulders in the early light, its stones blackened, its offering received. Around it, the ground holds the soft imprint of animal feet and human souls. New footsteps in a cleansed world. The ark, behind them now, fades into memory. Its great frame, once a lifeline, is now a monument of obedience resting against a forgotten peak. The storm has passed, but something still lingers in the sky, a hush awaiting a space where breath has not yet filled. And then the promise comes, not as thunder, not as decree, but as light. A bow curves across the sky, wide and unbroken, each hue unfolding like a breath long held. Red, orange, yellow, pale green, deep blue, indigo, violet. A spectrum etched across retreating clouds, reaching from horizon to horizon. It does not fall. It does not strike. It hangs, still and shimmering. Noah lifts his face to it. His sons stand beside him, shoulders bare to the wind. Their wives watch quiet. Even the animals pause, instinct silenced by wonder. There are no words, only awe, the kind that speaks in the soul rather than the tongue. And God speaks. His voice is not from the bow, but beyond it. It moves like light through mist, gentle, weightless, unforgettable. This is the sign of the covenant I am making. He says, between me and you and every living creature that is with you for all generations to come. A covenant, not a treaty drawn in parchment or stone, not a vow that depends on man's strength or goodness. This is something else, a divine self-binding, a mercy that folds itself into creation. I have set my bow in the cloud. He continues, it shall be for a sign. The word bow is not soft. In its ancient tongue, it means what it once meant in war, a weapon, curved and taut, an arc meant for judgment. But here, turned upward, unstrung, it becomes something else. Not a tool of wrath, but a symbol of peace. Never again, not like this. The earth will not be destroyed by flood. The waters will return in rivers and seas, but never as ruin. Rain will fall, but not as judgment. The rainbow speaks of restraint, of memory, of God's own remembering. When I bring clouds over the earth, he says, and the bow is seen in the clouds, I will remember my covenant, and the waters shall never again become a flood to destroy all flesh. Noah listens. He does not write these words, but they settle in him. They take root. The man who spent 100 years building with no sign of rain now stands under a bow made of light, with no threat behind it. His eyes reflect the colors, not with fear, not with pride, but with peace. The rainbow arches across the sky like a bridge between heaven and earth. Not one to be crossed, but to be seen and remembered. It does not need to last long. It only needs to appear once to be true forever. Around them, the land still bears the signs of upheaval. The trees are sparse. The soil is slick and dark. The rivers have not yet found their old paths. And still, there is promise now. Not in what they see, but in what they are told. Life will return. Not because they earn it, but because God wills it. They begin to scatter. The animals wander toward the lower valleys. The sons speak of planting, of shelter, of finding flat ground and watching the stars. The women gather stones for cooking fires. A new beginning unfolds, slowly, haltingly. But Noah remains near the altar. He watches the rainbow fade, its light slipping into pale sky. He is not sad to see it go. It has done what it was meant to do. It has spoken, without voice, of something eternal. The covenant is not in the bow itself, but in the heart of the one who placed it there. A reminder. A mercy, a new chapter. The sky clears. The smoke from the altar is gone. The earth begins to dry. And Noah, the man who walked through silence, ridicule, flood, and waiting, walks forward once more, not alone, never alone, not now. Because now the covenant walks with him. The flood is gone, but the earth is still damp with memory. Each morning the sun rises over hills that do not remember names. The soil, though freshly washed, is rich, dark with promise, soft beneath bare feet. From its depths, seeds begin to stir again. Life returns not with thunder, but with roots. Noah stoops to the ground. His hands, which once shaped ark, beams and carried olive branches, now press seeds into the dirt. He plants a vineyard. It is a quiet act. No angels announce it. No thunder rolls. It is the work of an old man, still steady with purpose, who has seen too much to rush. The vines will take time, years perhaps, but Noah knows how to wait. His life has been shaped by waiting. The sun moves through seasons. Rain falls gently now, not to destroy, but to nourish. The vines grow, green and thin at first, clinging to wooden supports, then stronger, fuller. Their leaves curl toward the sky. Clusters of grapes form, deepening in color with each passing moon. The land, it seems, has not forgotten how to yield sweetness. One day, Noah gathers the fruit. He crushes it slowly beneath his feet, the juice pooling in stone basins, staining the ground with a dark red hush. It ferments in silence, and when the wine is ready, Noah drinks. He drinks, not out of celebration, but perhaps something quieter. Perhaps weariness, perhaps longing, perhaps the simple ache of remembering a world lost. The wine soothes him. It softens the sharpness of memory. And one evening, beneath his tent, Noah drinks more than he should. He falls asleep uncovered. The one who once bore the weight of the world in wood and pitch now lies exposed, vulnerable in a quiet moment of human imperfection. His son, Ham, enters the tent. There is a stillness in the air, heavy with heat and silence. Ham sees his father, not as a figure to protect, but as a spectacle, a shame not covered, but carried outward. He tells his brothers. There is no compassion in his voice, only exposure. But Shem and Japheth, they do not look. They do not speak. They take a garment. They walk backward, slowly, with care, with reverence. Step by step, they shield their eyes and drape the covering over their father. It is not just cloth. It is dignity. It is love in motion. It is honor chosen in the face of another's failure. When Noah awakens, he knows not just what Ham did, but what the act reveals. He doesn't rage, he speaks. And in speaking, he draws lines that will ripple across generations. Cursed be Canaan. A servant of servants shall he be unto his brethren, not Ham directly, but his son. The curse flows downstream, as if to say choices have echoes. Then his voice softens. Blessed be the Lord God of Shem, and Canaan shall be his servant. He does not exalt Shem. He exalts God in Shem's life. A sacred tether is named, quiet and enduring. God shall enlarge Japheth, and he shall dwell in the tents of Shem. A strange and gentle blessing. Not a kingdom, not conquest, but sharing, a promise of dwelling together, of unity through honor. These words become more than paternal murmurings. They settle into the soil like seeds, growing into lines of language, lineage, and land. From Shem will come Abraham. From Japheth, the great coastlands of the Gentiles. And from Canaan, the ground that one day Joshua will walk in conquest. Where giants once dwelled. Noah's words do not control history, but they name the fault lines already forming beneath its surface. In a world that just began again, there are already directions, chosen, shaped, and spoken. And yet, this is not a moment of wrath. It is one of recognition. The world cannot begin in ignorance. It must begin in clarity. The flood cleans the earth. But now the heart must learn. In his final years, Noah watches the suns spread out. Shem's line walks with reverence, whispering the name of the Most High. Japheth's tents expand across the earth, far and wide. And Canaan's descendants, cities with walls, customs with shadows, begin to rise. From one family, the world unfolds again. But not as one. It scatters, not in punishment, but in pattern. Blessing is no longer just a word for crops or children. It is a boundary softly drawn, a direction, a protection, an echo of the covenant now finding its way through human hands, and Noah, old and slow of step, keeps watch. Not as a judge, but as one who once carried the weight of every living thing. Now he carries only memory. The sun sets quietly now, and Noah, once the man of warnings, says little. His voice has grown thin with years, like parchment worn at the edges, but his eyes, they still carry the weight of worlds. They have seen Eden's grief and Babel's reach. They have seen the ocean forget where it begins. 950 years. That is how long he leaves. Long enough to watch trees grow from seeds he planted. Long enough to forget the names of some grandchildren and remember the silence before the rain. He does not live in a house of stone. His dwelling is modest, open to the wind. It creaks with the evening breeze, a sound he finds comforting, not unlike the ark, wood remembering wood. He is not mourned with trumpets. There are no parades, no carvings made in haste. Only the hush of those who remember, and the rustle of leaves falling from a vine he once tended. The ark itself is gone. Perhaps it was dismantled, perhaps swallowed by the earth. No one visits it now. They do not need to. Its purpose was not preservation of timber, but of trust. He often sits alone beneath a tree older than his youngest great-grandchild. Its bark is gnarled, but its fruit sweet. There he listens, not for voices but for memories, not for prophecy but for peace. He remembers his father's voice. This one will comfort us concerning our toil, and he wonders if he did. Did he comfort the world, or only help it begin again? He thinks of the animals 2 by 2, how they came without command, only call, how they trusted the ark without knowing the sky would break. He sometimes envies them, that kind of faith, uncluttered by thought. He remembers the first time he stepped onto the new land. How the mud clung to his feet like a second birth. He remembers the altar, how he built it with shaking hands, offered thanks not because he survived, but because God remembered. He remembers the rainbow, not the color, but the silence after it appeared, a hush across the heavens, as if all creation had taken a breath. He never saw another quite like it. He didn't need to. Now, the world is wide again. There are cities he has never seen, languages he cannot understand. He does not try to follow them. He lets them go, like leaves in a stream. Sometimes children gather to hear him speak. They ask of the animals, the storm, the days inside the ark. But he tells them instead about patience, about walking with God when the path is unseen. He tells them that faith is not built in floods, but in the days before the rain, when the sky is blue and everyone laughs at your hands. He grows quieter each season. His bones speak now more than his mouth. They creak and hum and ache with the long song of living. But there is no bitterness in him, only a kind of fading warmth. When the day comes, there is no storm. No thunder cracks the heavens. No animals gather, no fire falls. Just the rhythm of breath, slow then slower. He lies beneath the same tree, The wind moves gently through its limbs. A bird rests above him still, and the light dims like a lamp being turned low. He dies not in fear, but in memory. He dies as one who has finished what he was asked to do. And as Noah's eyes close for the last time, the wind carries his name forward, not loud, but lasting. The world will forget the boat, the measurements, the mountain. But it will not forget the man who walked with God, while the world drowned. And so the candle of this story fades, but its flame lingers, gently flickering in the quiet of your heart. Noah's obedience, his waiting, his walk with God. These are not just echoes of the past, but gentle reminders stitched into time. Thank you for sharing this sacred stillness with me tonight. In this hush, you are not alone. You are part of something vast and remembered. Let your thoughts drift like leaves on water. Let the night hold you. Let rest find you.